Alright, I'm going to do a quick video. These videos sometimes are a little bit boring, but they really need to be done because people don't always understand the value of really aggressive yields. So we're looking at TQQQ. The yield over the years has been about 23%. The market's been about 12% as a whole. It is a triple. You'd think it'd be at 36, but when I look over the years, it looks like it has done quite a bit better than the market of 12%. It's been about 23%. So it's been phenomenal. So with that in mind, people that are saving for retirement, how early do they need to save? Well, someone that's 45, so anybody that's under 45, you put 16 grand into a Roth IRA. So that would be, you can put $6,000 a year in. So that would be essentially 3 years. So 3 years at the max would be 18,000. And the way you do this calculation is pretty simple. You got the 23% here, and you can do a factor. Of course, you can do it in one calculation, but if you want to generate a factor, then you say 1 plus the 23 to the power of however many years you got. So in this case, it'd be 20. So we're looking at D3 here. So that'd be the same for all these. So you calculate the number of years, and then I just put an age beside it. And these two add up to be 65. So if you put in at least $16,000 into an investment that does 23% a year, then you're going to be a millionaire. Because I'm taking this divided by this equals this. So, and then, this divided by this. So, obviously, the more years that you have, the less money that you have to put in. And so you see that this will be 20% less, blah, 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 blah. You go all the way down here. And so if somebody was under 5 years old, you could put $4 in. Is that crazy? It's $4. So somebody's at 30 years old. They have 35 years to retirement. That's the key, how many years they have till retirement. Then you can put $750 in. 713 actually. So anyway, that's the way this calculation does. Here I have the maximum on the Roth is $6,000. So if you divide that by $6,000, this one would be 2.7. And so essentially, if you put in at least 1 year into your Roth, by the time you're 40 years old, 1 year, and you make a 23%, and so you're very, very aggressive in your investing, then, so it seems pretty simple, to become a millionaire, right? But what if you just make the market? You're not aggressive. And a lot of people fall into that category. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't make the 12% for the year. And that really drastically increases the amount that you have to save. So we have another one here that's the same thing, but it's at 12. So I have it right here, at 12. So we can go back over to this one. I'll just change this to 12. But if you look at the difference, well, let's leave this one at 23. So let's back up and look at the difference. So if you look at the difference, if you wait until you're 45 years old and you only have 20 years to go, you have to put $103,000 in. So essentially, you have to put the maximum in just about all your earning years from the age 45 to 65. But you can still do it. You can still do it $500 a month. You have to do it for 17 years, so not quite the 20 years that you have here. So, and this is tax-free if you put it in a Roth, tax-free. So that's kind of how the way it works. Now, if you do it for a baby and you only make 12%, so this is saying you're only making 12%, that means you need to put, $1,114 in before they're 5. If you wait till they're 30, you need to put about $19,000 in. So this gives you an idea. So what should you take from this? What you should take from this is that if you're very aggressive, you can use this and you can save more money, or save less money and make more money. But if you're naturally conservative, and you're going to be conservative, then, you need to save like this. So I guess the thought is, if you really want this, then you really need to save like this and invest like this. Then you may end up having, $4 or $5 million because you're investing, very aggressively. But this would be, I'd say worst case scenario, because this is what the average has been. So, of course, could do less in the future, I suppose, but I don't really expect that to happen. So let's look at this. So that means that if you do this before you're 37, or let's say you do it before you're 40. If you do it before you're 40, if you put $500 a month in for 10 years, then you're going to become a millionaire before you're 40. So, in other words, you really have to do it between your 30 and 40 for this to, pan out for you. So now, if you start when you're very young, then you really only need to do this for 3 years. If you start when you're 20, then obviously, you put $2,000 a year in, and you put $2,000 a year in, so that's about less than $200 a month between the time you're 20 and 30, and then you're going to be a millionaire when you finish. So, it's pretty powerful if you think about it. So that's why you want to start early. So even at market rates, if you start and you put $2,000 a year, which is less than $200 a month, in between the time of being 20 and 30, because you have time on your side, then that'll grow to be $1 million. Now, if you're very aggressive also, then you really only have to put $750 in, just a one-time thing before you're 30 years old. So this would be an idea to gift somebody, gift it for their wedding, gift it for, their future, and really, rich parents should do this more. If you think about it, you can even give somebody $5,000, when they're 40. I mean, if you're a rich dude, that's really not a lot of money. I'm a millionaire, and, surely I could, I don't have any kids, but if I had kids, of course, I'd give them $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000. Wouldn't be that big deal, even if they're 45 years old. So this is so if you have somebody that really, a single mother, they're never going to make it. If you go ahead, when they're 35 years old, you go ahead and put $2,000 in very aggressively. Now, what's going to happen? Oh, well, maybe they're going to cash it out, So I don't know how you do that, because some people just can't control themselves. They're going to cash it out no matter what. And that's what happens a lot when people change jobs. Let's say they get fired, or they get laid off, or they move. They may have $20,000, and unfortunately they say, well, I could really use that money. They go out and buy a car or something, some bullshit like that, or put a down payment on a house that is more house than they need because they never saved for it, and then hey, they're in debt for the rest of their life. They feed that house. So, but anyway, look at this and see, if you're a rich dude and you put $20,000 in for your 30-year-old that's not doing that well, and you just let them keep it in. If they're 35, you need to put 33, and then the numbers get bigger. I don't know who gives somebody 50 grand at 40, but if it's one, if you're loaded and it's one of your if it's one of your relatives, or especially if it's your if your child, I can't imagine doing it to anybody else. But this is a way you can give somebody. Definitely, somebody's getting married, young. Why can't you put $750 in? You could even pull money, right? Put $750 in. Instead of using it for a honeymoon, they use it for the retirement. And you put it in very aggressive stuff like T Triple Q. You really have to put it in T Triple Q, TCL. I like the ARRK right now, but who knows if Kathy Woods will blow up, in 10 years. But so you need to monitor these at least once a year and make sure that your really aggressive stuff is still performing. I don't know if you really need to, if you got 20 years, I don't know if you really need to change it every year. But sometimes if it goes down one year, if you're in a depression or recession, then the next couple of years might be outstanding. So if it was down 10% one year and then it's up 140% the next year, so watch out for that. But this is the kind of thing that you need to look at. This is the key, is to be aggressive. And I just need to emphasize, people have a long way before they retire, a very long period of time. And this thing of thinking that the market's high right now, and so they want to be safe because they have $20,000 invested, or I've got $50,000 invested now, I don't want to lose it, I need to stay I'm just going to do blue chip. You've got 20 or 30 years before you're going to retire. You don't need to just put it in blue chips. Put it in very aggressive growth stocks. That is the key. If you just want to be really boring, and you want to do super, then you want to be super conservative, then you need to put these kind of numbers in. You see the difference between these kind of numbers? These are numbers that you need to make a pretty good clip. You need to make pretty good money, or you need to be really disciplined to be putting in $500 a month. Let's say you're just working a regular job. You need to put $500 a month in instead of taking care of your wife and your kids, or, really the wife, I shouldn't say the wife and kids, because the wife should be putting in hers also. So, y'all can both do this. So this is another thing. Both of you need to do this. One of the most important things is picking the right spouse. And so, as a man, because the man usually gets, shit on if they get divorced, and he loses half of his stuff, then, you really need to make sure that your wife is doing the same thing. And if you've decided to be the breadwinner, she's staying home with the kids, you need to be putting in hers also. So that means you need to be putting $1,000 in. Hopefully she's doing some income. Even if she's a stay-at-home mom, she keeps kids, if she has a side hustle, whatever, then, if you want to be a millionaire. Now, if you don't want to be a millionaire, don't do this. Don't save it all. Spend everything you got. 78% of the people live paycheck to paycheck. This is not who I'm talking to. Don't live paycheck to paycheck. If you made 20% less than you make now, would you die? I don't think so. So just go ahead and stick it in the market 20%, and if you get a pay cut, you got a pay cut. You get a pay raise, you got a pay raise. But just keep putting 20% in. And if you put 20% in, but what you can do is just do something like this and then set it, leave it alone, and just let it grow. And you can do it 1 year. Look at that. 1 year. You did it 1 year when you were 40, and you did this. 1 year. Now, if you don't make good and you're 40, you got to do it 10 years. You got to do it 10 years. So see the difference? In this case, you do it 1 year. Here, you're going to do it 1 year. 1 year is all you have to do, because you're making 23%. Here, you got to do it 10 years. So that's really dependent on, your rate of return. Now, you go to a financial planner, they're going to say, oh, well, we need to do 12% is, because they can't beat the market, because, they have you in some shitty mutual funds. And some people are in that. I mean, they're really saving for their 401k, they're getting matching, and they're making 7% on their money. And so you've got some whippersnapper over here that's doing this, and they caught Tesla, or they're just very aggressively invested, and they did this. Next thing you know, they're a millionaire. And this poor sap over here, he's been sucking it away, and he had some rough patches, so he couldn't do this. He could, some years he couldn't put in $500 because something happened to one of their kids, or had a health scare, whatever happened. So this is more difficult to do. It just is. Now, what I did was more like this, unfortunately. Actually, I did more like this, and did, something like over 50%, and then become a millionaire in 4 years. So it can be done a variety of ways, but, sometimes people say, wow, if you do it over time, you get these kind of, you can save small amounts that could grow up to be a fortune. And you can see that, or people say, oh, if you would have invested so-and-so in Apple, 20 years ago, you'd be, worth $2 million or whatever like that. That's true. That's true. But a lot of people don't do this. I think anybody can do this, though. If they're 45 and they can, put it in the max for 3 years, I mean, it's not like I'm telling you, hey, you've got to save forever. I'm saying, if you're 45, can you put it in the max for 3 years? If you can't, you're doing something wrong. You need to get a side hustle. You need to get a better job. You need to get a second job. You're not working hard enough. You're only working 32 hours a week. You need to be working 2 jobs. What's wrong with working 2 jobs for 3 years and doing this? Another thing you can do, let's say you're down on your luck, and you're saying, I can't do this. I just can't do this. Now, I know as soon as I say this, people are going to say, oh, well, I can't do that because I'm scared of needles, or I can't do that because of this. But you can actually go sell platelets and make $500 a month. Is it a pain in the ass? Do you have to go and sit for, 3 hours the first time and then an hour as you go along? Yeah, you do. You do. I mean, it's, so, but, if you're down and out, you're not making that much money, and you want to save for your future, and you can say, hey, I can't take money away from the wife and the kids, or I can't take away money for myself, but can you not go and give platelets for, let's say you half-ass do it, instead of making some of the returns that some people see, $700-800, you make the bonus, you make $500 a month for, a long time. Let's say you just make $300 a month. You make $300 a month, and you do it for 2 years. So if you do that by the time you're 40, you just go sit a couple times a week for an hour, give platelets, and you're not even maximizing it. You're just half-ass doing it, and you make $300 a month. But if you kicked it up, let's say you did this, the older you get, the more you got to do. You got to do more. So this is very doable, right? Very doable. Anybody can do this. Now, when you get over to this side, these are people that really have to save. I mean, if you're only making $40,000-$50,000, it's hard to save $100,000. It just is. People that say it's not, it is. It really is. I mean, it's hard for people that can't control their urges nowadays. Can people do this? People can do this, and people do it all the time. They can be very disciplined, but you got to think, they say now it used to be 6% of the people were millionaires. Now they're saying more like 8% of the people because the markets went up so much. So if you're saying 8% of the people are millionaires, but still more like something like 78% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. There's only 16% that are doing this, that are saving for their future, that are professionals, that, and so maybe some of those are going to be ones that are 8%. So either way, you've got a huge percentage of the population that ain't saving shit. They're just not doing it. So take a look at this. If you're before the age of 45, you can put your maximum in your Roth, which is $500 a month for 3 years. When you get your next raise, if you're 45 and you're not making, decent money, then, you need to really reevaluate your life. If you are making decent money, why did you buy that big ass house? Why did you buy that new car? Why can't you go buy a used car and then put the $500 a month instead of driving a new car and then become a millionaire? Why can't you do that? You only have to put it in for 3 years and be aggressive. It's not that hard. You need to really do this. This is something people really need to do. Now, for myself, I did everything wrong. I had some success here and there, but I did make a very high income. I made over 6 figures, and I maximized my 401k and did a rollover. I built a $1 million real estate portfolio, and then I ended up having about 700,000 right now in the stock market after I built the 6-figure rental income that's all paid for. So it can be done. I mean, I did that pretty much after 50. Did I save money when I was younger? I did, but I did what a lot of people do. I ran into some problems, I cashed it out. A lot of people do that, and it's a terrible thing to do. It's a terrible thing to do. If you would have just set it aside. But I will also tell you, the tax changes and stuff that have changed significantly over the years, to where now people, basically trading is free. Trading is free. It used to cost, quite a bit to trade. And the amount that you could put in was not as generous as it is now. The Roth, being able to put in $6,000 a year, $7,000 if you're over 50, tax free. If you're over 50 and you're not putting in $7,000 for you and your spouse every year, then you need to really reevaluate that, because that's money that's basically a gift from the government, and you can't go back and do it. Actually, before the tax year comes up, before April the 15th, you can do it for the previous year. So my wife and I have not been doing this, and this year we're going to put $28,000 in before the tax season. Well, we'll put at least the 14 in, and then before the end of the year we'll put in. So you can do that. That's something else you can do. Anyway, think about this. Think about how you can make somebody else's life better. But of course, everybody wants to make their life better. But think about people that, definitely your children. Can you do this for your children? You might be able to do that.